Heyo, what's good, reader fam? Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm bringing you another episode of Books I've Read Recently, the series on my channel where I share with you the books I've read recently. I've got 5 books to talk about today, so without further ado, let's get to talking books. The first book I've read recently is The WANGS vs. the World by JADE CHANG. This story is of an immigrant family living in the United States. The father moved from Taiwan to the States and then hit it big in the cosmetics industry. He was swimming in that cash flow, but unfortunately that flow did not last forever. And soon enough, this family finds themselves in a financial mess, leaving them with no choice but to pack up their car, head on a road trip to get to the oldest daughter's house so that they can move in with her. It's about a family that's not super close and throwing them all together in a car and putting them in a situation where they need to be close in order to pull through. What I liked. This book was an excellent example in unlikable characters because there are so many unlikable characters. You want unlikable characters? This book has a slew of them. From the dad having his sole focus on that cash money life and not focusing on his kids at all, to the stepmom who, well, I'm not gonna spoil it, but who is pretty dang awful, like that can you not level of awful, if you know what I mean. To the oldest daughter consistently making bad decisions, she's stuck in a loop of bad love life choices. And I wanted to jump in there and snap her out of it. Snap, snap. While these characters aren't here to necessarily make you love them, they are what hold this story together. Had they not been in there, I would have DNF'd this book real quick. In fact, I did almost DNF this book, but something about these characters just made me want to find out where they ended up. Going off of that, this book also illustrated a lot of really interesting dynamics. I loved the bond between the siblings. They only really had each other. They definitely didn't have their dad because their dad is focused on that money life, and their stepmom, again, like I said, is straight up awful, so it's not like they're turning to her to be like, yo, let's have this great relationship. They're more like, stay away from me, don't talk to me, we're not BFFs, and we're never going to be. When you throw all these dynamics in a car together and put them on a road trip, it makes for a really interesting story. Also a road trip that I would not want to participate in. What I didn't like. This book was unnecessarily long. It's not even that long of a book, but for this story, it was long. It's only 351 pages, but that's 351 pages too long for this story. That's just my personal opinion though. If you disagree, that's okay. I wanted the daddy-o to put his foot on the gas and move the story faster than the speed limit. It's fiction, Dad. You can get away with speeding here. There were plot points in this book that still don't make sense to me and didn't really add anything to the story, other than making me go, what is happening? Why is this happening? Can we put this car in reverse and take a detour out of this messy situation, please? Though I do think that that kind of plays into the fact that this book's humor and my humor just didn't get along. They didn't want to be best friends. It wasn't happening. They just didn't really know what to think of each other. Maybe the bizarre things that were happening in this book were meant to make it hilarious, but it ended up just making me side-eye what was happening. All that to say, I think this book could have been 100 pages shorter and 50% less strange. This is coming from somebody who loves weird books. I ended up giving The WANGS vs. the World by JADE CHANG a 2.5 out of 5 stars. Next up here I have Voices by David ELLIOT. This is a bit of Joan Arc's story told through poems. While we hear from Joan, we also hear from people and objects within her life. What I liked. I really enjoyed this unique approach of telling Joan's story. I'm not super familiar with Joan of Arc, but reading this book made me want to know more about her. It made me want to pull out my laptop and do some research. Joan's story has piqued my interest. I'm not gonna lie, something else that I liked about this book was how easy it was to get through. It was a wham bam done situation and it made me feel like the fastest reader ever, even though I'm not, and this book is just hecka short and it's told in poetry, aka it's super fast to get through. So really not much to celebrate over here, but you bet your bottom dollar I did a happy reader dance after I finished this book because I felt like the fastest reader ever. Lastly, I really like the topics that this book brought up. It brought up gender and misogyny. I think those two things coming in definitely helped shape this narrative and also got you thinking about those topics as well. It made you think really deep thoughts. I know my tone makes it sound like I'm joking, but I'm serious! What I didn't like. I only have one really big gripe with this book, and it's gonna sound stupid, so bear with me, but some of the poem formats weren't that great. For example, this poem is in the shape of a sword, but the sword is split in half. It's split into 2 pages. I want to see the full sword in all its glory, but it's cut in half. Had the whole sword been put together, I would have been slayed by this book. But because it's split in half, no slayage happened here. Also, I'm somebody who's really bothered when pages are wasted like this. Like, this just has 1 word on it. This one only has 9 words on it. Like, that's such a waste of paper. We're killing trees for things like this. Again, I know this is such a stupid thing to complain about, but I'm picky. I can't help it. I could help it. I could change, but I'm not gonna change because I'm stubborn. Stubborn with a capital S. I ended up giving Voices by David ELLIOT a 4 out of 5 stars. Next up here I have One of Us is Lying by Karen MCMANUS. This story is a murder mystery, and the murder that takes place happens in detention. everyone who was in detention that day is now a suspect in this case. What I liked. I was taken aback by how well built the characters are in this book. I was not expecting that at all going in. You truly get to know these characters, you learn their backstories, you learn what they want in the future. Karen A. McManus did a great job of kind of making you care about each and every one of the characters. I also just really liked how everything went down in this story. While I do have problems with the big reveal, which I will get to, I still liked the fact that I was surprised by this book because I wasn't expecting that. Going into this, I was just like, this is gonna be an easy peasy mystery to solve. And sure, it might have been easy for those who are experienced in the murder mystery genre, but I'm unexperienced. I would like to read more in this genre though in the future though, that's for sure. What I didn't like. While I did like the surprising element of the murder mystery, I also just as a whole had issues with how everything kind of went down. Obviously, I can't say specifically what happened because spoilers. It just made me feel a little bit on the uneasy side with what exactly happened and how it happened. It just, it rubbed me the wrong way, okay? But like I said, at the same time, it kind of took me by surprise and it was a nice shock factor. So I don't know how to fully feel. I am conflicted. I will say that I also didn't like how the reveal was kind of heavily hinted at like a few chapters before the actual reveal, because that kind of made the reveal less shocking because by that point you've kind of put two and two together and you know what actually happened. Once you get the hints, it's like, well, cat's out the bag. Can't get shook and chuck the book across the room, which is probably for the better. Even though I was still pretty surprised. I ended up giving One of Us is Lying by Karen A. McManus a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Next up here, I read The Field Guide to the North American Teenager by PHILIPE. This story follows our main character Norris, who is a black French Canadian moving all the way to Austin, Texas. He's not moving because he wants to move to Texas, he kind of has no choice in the matter. We follow him on this journey of moving to a completely different location that's not like Canada at all, and also following him trying to navigate this new high school and trying to find his footing. What I liked. I loved our main character Norris in this book. He is not the most lovable character, but I really sympathized with his story and I really liked his journey of kind of overcoming all these judgments he was making about other people. We also have so many great side characters in this book, especially ones that come knocking on Norris's door going, I know you've got all these built up thoughts about who you think we are, but we're gonna take those thoughts and chuck them in the trash and prove you wrong. And that they do. I also thought this book was fun in how it plays with different tropes. High school tropes specifically play a big part in this book, but it's almost like they're there to be destroyed and flipped on their heads. They're there to showcase that people are more than these stereotypes. People are more than just cheerleaders, more than just jocks, more than just nerds. Lastly, I really liked seeing how his life differed in Canada to Austin, Texas, and seeing how this big move kind of altered his life. What I didn't like. I don't have much to say about this book that I didn't like. I really enjoyed it. The one thing that I didn't really love was the relationship that develops, because it's very clear that there is not a real connection there. Like, it's all just based off of like wanting to be in a relationship, if that makes sense, like the infatuation with the idea of being in a relationship. Meanwhile, there's somebody else in his life where there is a clear connection, and it makes you want to scream at the book being like, wake up buddy, there's a golden girl right in front of you that you should be going for. Other than that, I really enjoyed this book and I gave The Field Guide to the North American Teenager by PHILIPE a 4 out of 5 stars. Lastly, I have here Two Can Keep a Secret by Karen A. McManus. This was the Booksplosion book of the month for the month of February, and we worked with Penguin Random House, and I'm working with them on this portion of the video. Our live show has already taken place and it's up on the Booksplosion channel, so I will leave a link to that down below in the description if you want to hear all our spoilery thoughts. It was a great live show discussion. We had lots to talk about with this book. This story follows our main character Ellery and her twin as they move in with their grandmother in this very small town. While it is a rather small town, people are pretty aware of it because of the fact that there have been some murders that have taken place within this small town. In fact, Ellery's aunt was murdered, so these murders kind of hit close to home. And as soon as Ellery moves to this town, it seems like these murders are picking up again. Ellery finds herself caught up in this web of secrets as she tries to figure out who is behind all these murders. What I liked. I thought this was a really well-developed thriller. While this isn't the most original storyline, I felt like the author kind of brought her own twist and spin on the story, and I really liked that. I loved the small town feel where everyone knows everyone. Even if you don't want to know certain people, you know them. That's just how it goes in a small town. I love the different family dynamics within Ellery's family. We have the twin dynamic. We have the really interesting mom dynamic where she's not super involved in their lives and she's more of a big sister. And the relationship between Ellery and her grandmother, which is the one that I am complete trash for. It made me so emotional and it made me miss my grandma. It's a relationship that isn't the most steady at first, but boy do they build a structure that can't be broken. The bond they created just hit me in the feels in the best way. Albeit we don't even see that much of the relationship, I'm just weak, okay? I thought it was really interesting seeing how Ellery's aunt's murder kind of affected her and affected her desire to learn the mystery behind these murders that were taking place. That really brought in a great reason as to why Ellery was getting involved in these murders. It could have easily just been Ellery getting involved in this messy murder situation, but it was nice to kind of have a tie to the murders. Even though they never got to meet their mom's sister, they're still going to be very curious about her and want to know what exactly happened to her. This book also had a really nice build-up. Something that I really enjoyed about it was the fact that anybody could have done it. Anyone could have been responsible for what was happening, and that made it really difficult to figure out who exactly was behind it, making the reveal pretty shocking. I personally didn't see it coming at all. It came up behind me, tapped me on the shoulder, and said, "Well, hello," making all my dumb theories disappear, which was another part of this book that I loved. I loved having all these crazy theories that didn't really make any sense. Even though I knew they were all off, I clung to them in hopes that maybe I would be right. But I wasn't. What I didn't like. While I didn't see the reveal coming, I kind of wanted more of a punch with the reveal. I wanted Karen A. McManus to pop up while I was reading this book and punch me in the face, and then just walk away as if nothing happened. But the reveal portion of this book was where things kind of got really thrilling, and I just wanted to spend more time in that moment and build up this big scene of suspense and scariness. But it was just kind of over in a few pages, and we had this really nice build up to it, but we didn't have a nice payout. It could have been creepier and more goosebumps worthy, but it just didn't really do that. Overall, I gave Two Can Keep a Secret by Karen A. McManus a 4 out of 5 stars. So those were 5 books that I've read recently. You guys should let me know down below in the comments if you have read any of these books and what your thoughts are on them if you have. I want to try to get back into doing some full video book reviews because I miss doing those. I want to do one for Crooked Kingdom because I recently reread this book and I took loads of notes. And I also want to do one for Want by Cindy Pond because I read this recently and I loved it. So look out for these reviews coming at some point as soon as I get off my lazy butt to do them. Anyway, that's it for this video. You guys should let me know down below in the comments some books that you've read recently. Do you have a new favorite or a not so favorite? Let me know down below in the comments. If you like this video, be sure to go and hit that like button. If you want to see more bookish content from me, be sure to go and hit subscribe or go and hit that bell icon and you'll be notified every time I post new videos. As always, thanks for watching, guys. I hope your day is bright and that tomorrow is brighter. Keep reading what your heart desires and I will see you soon with a new video. Bye! -oh!